All right, hey kids. So today we're going to do the anatomy of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I will do a video on the T-Rex history and lineage and all that, and with the models back there. But today I want to go over just the actual skeleton and the parts of the skeleton and why and where, right? So first and foremost, if you're a paleontologist looking for any vertebrate, you want the body, obviously. But if you can't find the body, try to find the skull. If you can't find the skull, find a tooth, kind of thing. That tells you the animal's lifestyle. You know, think of our teeth. Omnivores. We eat everything. Our skull's really big for brains. You know, it tells you our lifestyle, our ideas. So first of all, I'm going to start with the skull. I would use this one, but it's covered in flesh. So I have this model my mom bought me from Dinosaur World in Glen Rose. So first of all, the skull, you have several holes. And the question is always, why are there so many holes in the skull? And the answer is pretty simple. We believe that the skull is this big, massive bone. It's very heavy. You're balancing on these two legs. So having holes in the skull makes it actually lighter. Also, animals in general don't want to waste a lot of resources to make bone if you don't have to. Kind of, you know, bone's expensive. It's heavy. Even in most ceratopsian horned dinosaurs have these frills, but they're like a frame of bone, not the actual solid bone. Triceratops being the exception to that rule. But anyway, so here we have the holes in the skull. So the first one is the nares, which is the nose hole right in the front for sniffing. Here we have the interorbital fenestra. The word fenestra means window in French. So technically they're all fenestras, but if you just call them all the same thing, you can't specify which one's what. So the interorbital fenestra is anterior to the orbit, and the orbit is the eye hole right here. So people often think the eye hole is this one here because I guess it's bigger, but this is the eye. The eye will be higher up too, because there's usually crest on many predatory animals, and they want to be able to see really well. Those kind of like our eyebrow ridge. We look here. We're talking to other humans usually. So for the skull holes behind the eye, the orbit, we have the temporal fenestra. We have two right here, and we have the lateral fenestra right here. Tyrannosaurus Rex is a diapsid. And the idea behind that is if you look at early tetrapods, early land animals, vertebrates, they're diverging into different evolutionary lines, and the numbers of the holes in the skull is something we can clearly map out. So if there's no hole behind the eye, you're a adapsid, like a turtle. If there's one hole, you're a synapsid, like a Dimetrodon or a Gorgon or mammal, modified sometimes. And if you're a diapsid, you have two holes, that means you are like you're a reptile, usually reptile, snakes, lizards, birds too, dinosaurs. They all have that same feature there. So that's just seeing here, and also the muscles when you're biting down, the muscles kind of they go in there as well. So the top of the skull is called the cranium. The lower part's called the mandible. The teeth of the Tyrannosaur are very special. The teeth we're looking at right here, the ones we all know and see when you see the models, because you can actually buy a model Tyrannosaurus tooth relatively cheaply. Not a real one, a model. And they're unlike predators like Allosaurus and Acrocanthosaurus, the teeth aren't very narrow or sharp. They're very blunt because they're for breaking through bone. Tyrannosaurus is a bone crusher, so the teeth aren't very sharp in the end. That's why. Now, that's for adult Tyrannosauruses. We believe juveniles have had sharper teeth, kind of like crocodiles. If you ever see a crocodile, ever have the honor of catching a baby alligator, like I have once, their teeth are very, very sharp. And then they get older, they get more blunt for just crushing. So, looking at the actual model here, this is a model of Rexy from Jurassic World. My brother bought it for my birthday a few years, 2 years ago. So, general stuff. The top is called the dorsal. The bottom is called the ventral. The front is the anterior, and the back is the posterior. So the word posterior is often used in like colloquially, like your bottom, like your hiney, but posterior means the back. So that's why the word translated. Vertebrate-wise, we have the cervical vertebra, the dorsal, the sacral, and the caudal. For humans, we have the cervical, we have the lumbar, thoracic lumbar, like that. It's because dinosaurs, their ribs go all the way to the hips. Reptiles do in general, and humans are stop at a certain point. So the ribs stop for a human. It's the thoracic vertebra, and then the lumbar, where there are no ribs really. They just have the dorsal, same thing. Also want to point out, starting with the front of the animal, we have the uteral skeleton. You know, think of the vertebrae. You have this whole thing line here, and the limbs come off what's called girdles. There's the pectoral girdle and the pelvic girdle. So on the pectoral girdle, see your pectoral muscles kind of thing, there's a scapula right here. So for humans, so people see that in the museum, go like, wow, the what's that weird bone there? It's the scapula. See, we have ours in the back right here, theirs is on the side, and everyone's always like, that's really weird that they have theirs on the side. It's like, no, actually, it's really weird because humans have theirs on the back. We are flat and upright, so that's unusual for most of life on Earth. almost all life on Earth. So this is very normal to have a scapula running along here. Sometimes you see artists rendering of dinosaurs, you see the scapular line kind of drawn in. But anyway, so on the front we have these two bones of the coracoid, and Tyrannosaurus have a little wishbone, actually, a little like shape like that. We have the humerus, the upper arm bone, the ulnar radius. So it's kind of like how we, if you look at your arm bones, you have the humerus, the ulnar, the radius. We have the carpal, metacarpal, and phalanges. They actually have that too. There's tiny little bits there, and the fingers, of course, the digits. So phalanges are finger bones in this case. So when I was a kid in the 90s, we always said, look at me, I'm T-Rex, like this, because Jurassic Park's, you know, the raptors have their arms like this. They can't turn that way. They must be turned palm to palm. If you were to turn a raptor or a Rex's wrist this way, they'd break them, like Deadpool. So that's no bueno. So also want to point out that the fingers aren't these two fingers. Predatory dinosaurs lose their digits going in. So the earliest ancestors would have had 4 or 5, and they lose them over time. And of course, the idea is that it would be these two fingers for a Tyrannosaurus. So you did like this palm to palm. We do know from 2003, there's Y-Rex, who's in a museum in Houston. He has a little nub in there. And they found another one, I think, recently with a little nub finger there. So it's a little vestigial of a finger structure, but they would have had 2 actual clawed fingers like that. And actually what's really fun is that they're on the hand here, they're both the same length, though I guess the index finger will be longer. So you see like kind of like that too. This is actually more realistic there. As far as the hips go, like here's the hips don't lie. The ilium, these 2 bones here, there's one on each side. We have the ilium up here, our hip bone. In their hips, they also have 4 other bones. There's 2 here, the ilium. In the front is the pubis, and the back is the ischium. These 2 bones go together like that. And when you define dinosaur lineages, that's a really big thing to tell which hip structures are where and all that. We too have a pubis bone and the ilium bone, but theirs are like say here's the ilium on top, the pubis in the front, the ischium's in the back. Ours, it's like that. It's different anatomy. So same bones, it's different shape. Now, for the leg itself, we have the femur, which is the thigh bone, and the tibia right here, the main shin bone, and the fibula on the side. So the really cool thing with that is that that's like our leg, pretty much. I remember when I was a kid, I taught myself dinosaur anatomy from books, and I took health in middle school, and I was like, oh, those are the same bones as us. And as a kid, I was like, that's really cool. But like, as an adult, I'm like, duh, why would there be different kind of bones? I mean, everything's modified, right? So here, where the ankle is really the ankle. People think that this is the backwards facing knee in dinosaurs and bird species, but actually it's the ankle. So these bones here are called metatarsals, which is like the arch of your foot. And then these are the phalanges, the toe bones. Now, where predatory dinosaurs lose their fingers going in, T-Rex actually has, how about to start with 5 digits in the foot? So let's say it's the right foot. The 3 you're seeing here are the ones they're walking on, those 3 fingers there, 3 toes there. The dew claw, like a dog, on the side. Some toys don't show that. This one actually does. I'm very proud of that. Also, the what we call the pinky toe or pinky finger, it's not out of the body. It's a little notch on the side of the ankle here. So it still shows that 5 lineage. So when people's like, how do you know it evolved into whatever? You see the bones and how they rearrange themselves through time. That's really kind of cool. So it actually has all 5 digits shown to some degree. But on the outside of the skeleton, you only see the 3 it's walking on a dew claw. One thing that's really interesting about these guys too is that the toes increase, even though the middle toe is longer, the toes increase in number of bones as you go out. So the inner toe has 2 bones, the middle toe has 3 bones, and the outer toe has 4 bones in it. Which is, and then you say, wow, that's shorter then. Well, they're just smaller bones, but there's actually more. So you get 2, 3, 4 like that, and then dew claw has 2 as well. Some kind of fun fact there. Now, in the actual, again, back in the body, you have these belly ribs here called gastralia. And the idea is that we've only found some about that far. So when you see them in museums, there's always like this missing gap of bone here and here. It's been hypothesized we probably had more of those ribs found, but the fact that we just kind of found them really recently shows they're hard to find. They're very delicate bones. They fall off. There may have been more, but they would have been smaller and harder to find. Also want to point out too that, you know, people how they're just sitting right there, it's in case of muscle. So think about how there's certain bones in many animals where the bones don't attach to the skeleton, but they are just in case of muscle or something like that. On the tail itself, we have these little bones going up. So we have the individual caudal vertebra, these bones going up here. Those are called neural spines. They actually run with the entire animal. The bison's hump or the metrodons, you know, those are all neural spines. You have them on your own backbone. If you touch your backbone, you feel little bumps there. The idea is that those are neural spines going up, and on one's going down called chevrons. And it's spelled like the company Chevron, the oil company. So that's interesting happening here. My biggest concern with this figure is, and it's not just this figure, actually, it's all two-legged dinosaur models, particularly predators. They often have too short tails. And what I'm saying is the tail's not only shorter, but it's also very thin. The tail should be thicker than this. And we know that based on the neural spines, they stick out, and the chevrons, that they're muscle anchors. So they show you like the width of the, where the muscles would attach. You see that point there. So I'm explaining for kids. So, like, for example, my muscles are attached here. They're attaching to the bone. You can see those scars where the muscles attached to the bone. So we know that there's this huge muscle here, or series of muscles. In fact, I can tell you that on the ilium, there's these big grooves here and here that show where the muscles attached to the front of the leg and back of the leg for walking and running. Well, the same thing is that there's muscles attachment points going into the tail. So we know the tail has been thicker than this. So I'm pretty sure it's like a packaging thing where they have to, you often find these guys with tails that are associated in the package to connect them when you get there, because a bigger, wider package would be an issue. But most predatory dinosaur tails are too short. Kind of a thing. That's a pet peeve of mine. I know there's more parts to the skeleton I'm forgetting. Oh, right, the toenails. So here we have a model of a toenail, and compared to Allosaurus or any of the toe would be sharper. This is one of the engineering problems of this figure, that it does that. If the tail wasn't long enough, that would balance. So that's what the kids call throwing shade. So, like a dog or a cat, if you ever cut your dog or cat's claws or had it professionally done, there's the core in the middle that's actually blood vessels as a covering over that, basically. And it would have been pretty sharp, but not like super sharp, because why? There was no need for them to be super, super, super sharp. What I'm saying is, Allosaurus has these curved, sharp claws for ripping and grabbing into sauropods. These feet are for walking, obviously, and holding out prey. And what I'm saying is that people always ask me, how does Tyrannosaurus eat with those tiny little arms? Because we as humans have arms, and we have computers, and we build stuff and all that. Well, again, shark with legs, just shark with legs. And my analogy could be better if you look at we in Texas, we have crackles, these little like birds, and any bird really, it feeds. It'll hold the prey down or its food down with its foot and pick at it with its head. Same design here, basically, just bigger and more toothy. So the claws didn't have to be too sharp for ripping and tearing, to just holding down the prey. I also want to point out Tyrannosaurus Rex, found in Alberta, Canada, Saskatchewan, Canada, South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, West Texas. Today, those are all usually deserty regions sometimes. Where it lives, in South Dakota, for example, was like Louisiana back then. It was a more swampy area. So Tyrannosaurus Rex had these longer toes, because in Triceratops too, they're walking in this muddy area, the toes spread out to distribute their weight. Whereas something like Allosaurus or Brachiosaurus or Stegosaurus have very tight toes on a harder surface kind of thing. So again, even that part of anatomy makes sense for a reason. We have ribs running along the side, of course, and there's this thing called cervical ribs. The cervical vertebra, cervical ribs, and those are actually attachment points for muscles. So there's like 12 major muscles that attach to a Tyrannosaurus head. So it's really neat, because Tyrannosaurus Rex in some ways reminds me of like a dog, that it grabs on and shakes and crushes and bites kind of thing. So those muscles attach here so it can pull and shit like that, So that's what the cervical ribs can help too, as part of it too, actually. And I'm pretty sure there's more to the skull that I'm remembering right now, but that's pretty much it for the anatomy of Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'm supposed to I'm supposed to ask you to like and subscribe and share and comment below. Actually, comment below, because I can just go anywhere with this, but I want to know what dinosaurs do you want to talk about, what areas of interest you want to talk about, because I have a lot of material, a lot of resources over years of collecting. So anyway, that's the dinosaur anatomy, the bones in general. Thank you.